Hello everyone, welcome to tonight's live stream. My name is Szymon Kolacek and I will be moderating this encounter talk. With me in this virtual studio we have Paul Born, director, producer and all-around long-time friend of the festival Setkani Encounter from the UK. Paul, we're glad to have you here. I'm glad you could make it. Do you feel excited to be a part of the festival?
Simon, I do feel excited, but also, I'm sitting here now with a glass of water in my hand, and normally I would be in Brno with a glass of beer in my hand and celebrating all the wonderful shows. So I'm really sorry that you don't have a festival, a physical festival, but I'm really looking forward to when I can visit again, because it's coming to Setkani has I've always said, Setkani is one of the best festivals I go to during the year. I go to a lot because of the energy of the young people and the work of the teachers in the schools. So I'm very sorry you don't have the live one, but I'm sure you're doing a fabulous job on learning what is actually going to be part of our future anyway, because theatre is going to evolve from this experience we've had during COVID times, not just being about live performance. It's going to evolve into streamed performances as well. So we will see this being, so you Simon and everyone watching, you're part of the new normal. But of course we miss live theatre very, very much, and we hope it will be back soon.
Yeah, thank you. I think we can all agree on that. So it is currently 5 p.m. in our time zone, which marks the beginning of this lecture. But before that, I would like to ask our dear viewers to leave any questions that they have for Paul in the comment section down below on the YouTube site, so that we can answer them after the lecture is over. There will be a 30 to 45 minute long Q&A, and we are looking forward to your questions. But without further ado, Paul, I give you the word.
Thank you very much, Simon. Yeah, do please type out some questions. Simon will be able to ask me the questions on your behalf. So as we go, I'm sure there will be lots and lots of questions. I'm so sorry that we're not interactive, because I'd love to be able to talk to you guys and see you, but we can be interactive through the text as well. So let me share my screen with you. Simon's called it a lecture. I do teach in drama schools and theatres and various other places, but I don't want it to be too much of a lecture. Let's see what Simon, do you see my first slide? You do.
Yes, it's clearly visible.
So I called this Paul Born and. Now, of course, there's a picture of me looking like the king of the world, or trying to look like the king of the world. I don't know if I do. The reason I've done that is because I'm going to talk about all of the different theatre projects that I'm involved in, and things that I've either created or things that have come to me and that we've been co-created in the UK, in Europe, including the Czech Republic, across to Russia and the States. And I really want to talk about the sorts of work that I create and work with, and then how we get that work produced. So that's really at the heart of what I want to talk about and show you today. So, and I know people say, oh, Paul, why are you showing a picture of yourself? Well, I am my own favourite subject. So there you go, it's true. They say they have egos in the theatre, but I think it's probably, in this case, it's probably very true. Well, in that vein, this you may recognise. There are probably people watching right now go, I know where that is. That is in Berlin. That picture is in Berlin, and it says, I want to be an artist too. And there I am. If you just look ghostly in the thing, you'll see that I am in fact there in the thing. And it's quite a nice picture. All of the people watching here either are artists or want to be artists. It's just deciding which area you want to go into. I chose new writing. I chose new writing for a very simple reason. After I graduated from drama school in theatre directing, I got a job working first of all in Germany and then in America, producing what you would call well-known plays, so standards. Okay. And some of them, of course, give you great scope for your original work. You know, you get great scope from doing something like Chekhov, or writers that give you wonderful, wonderful scope and opportunities. And then I found that actually, once I got sort of past that kind of work, I was doing things that were transfers of work, things like Tennessee Williams and David Mamet, and they were work that other people had done already. And I thought, well, actually, it's, for me, it's not so interesting as being original. So I shifted from that sort of wanting to be just a director of great writing into a director who wanted to work with writers to create my own work with them. So I went to follow my dream of being an artist as a director who produces new writing or new work. And of course, you know, this is what resulted. You know, this is a photograph taken at 4 o'clock in the morning, opening a new play the next evening. We all recognise that moment. I'm sure you've been involved in it very recently. And that's the career that I chose. And new writing has its own very special rewards and its own very special challenges. And it's something that I'm so happy that I made the choice to do. There's a lot more risk in a way with producing new writing, but potentially there's a lot more reward as well. And we'll come on and talk about that as we go. Okay, so which two companies am I currently involved in? Well, Menagerie at the top there is my own theatre company, which I set up 20 years ago. When I came back from the States, having directed a lot in the States, that's when I made the decision to do new writing. And that has been over 20 years of generating new work, and I'll talk about how that's happened. Along the way, I've built lots of international relationships with different organizations, and the most important one is in the Czech Republic with Divadlo 616, with wonderful colleagues, particularly Philip and Christina, but other colleagues, Jana, Christoph, Junki, in terms of who are artists who want to make new writing. So these are artists who work in a wide variety of fields, but they came to work with me because they knew that I could help to push them into new writing. So it means finding scripts, commissioning scripts, working with writers to be able to produce completely original work. Now, what's interesting when you work internationally is that sometimes we as Menagerie in the UK will produce a script and then it will then get translated into other languages, so Czech or Russian, and we're working on Norwegian stuff at the moment as well. Or you will co-produce work from the beginning. So you would create something maybe in one language, which would then be translated, or maybe even in both languages. And currently we have a project between Menagerie and Divadlo 616 to do a dual English-Czech language production. So again, that has particular challenges. So this is my home. Now, sort of jokingly say it's my home. I spend most of my time there. It's the Junction in Cambridge, and that's internal of the main theatre. We have 3 theatres. One is for live music, and one is for the one you just saw is for theatre performances, and we have an experimental studio. Just some photographs of some of the work we do. It's very varied. It varies in scale from 20, 25 actor shows down to single actor shows. All of them are commissioned. All of them are developed in a process of meet a writer, work with that writer on developing an idea, challenge the writer through a process of maybe months or even years to come up with work. And then once that's developed, we have productions which can then be produced in the UK and then co-produced internationally. And that has been our long-term theatre model. Okay. Now, the website for Menagerie is easy for you guys to access. I just took a screenshot of the site because I wanted to show you a couple of things about the way that we work. Just from here, you can see a few interesting things that are happening. So what would I like to point out that's interesting? Well, if we go here just to what is the basis of the work that we do, it says a leading independent new writing theatre company in the east of England, which is based in Cambridge, creating theatre for over 16 years and have a regional, national, international reputation for the development of first-class new writing for the stage. And the second part of this that I think is quite interesting is we seek out and support talented writers in order to develop and produce innovative new theatre. And as well as touring widely, we run workshops, writer development courses, and produce a festival. And this is really important because that's where we get to meet the writers, through development programs, through a festival. So we don't just go out and say, knock on someone's door and say, would you like us to write us a play? We bring them into our family, we work with them, we give them opportunities. That's the first thing I'd like to point out. The second thing I'd like to point out here is a film of a new piece by Steve Waters. Now, Steve Waters is one of our associate writers. So once we've worked with someone, we ask them if they'd like to stay with us. We offer them the opportunity to work with our actors, to work with our producers, our designers, give them an opportunity to maybe try out new material in the future as an associate. This is the first time due to COVID that we've actually filmed stuff and streamed it. We've streamed stuff live, we've had to without an audience, and we see for the first time that we've actually made a film of one of the pieces of new writing that's in post-production. And it will be a shift, and I said a little bit about that with Simon at the beginning, shift in terms of the model maybe for the future. We, other things, it's a job going if someone wants to work with us. There you go, an associate producer job. Here we have this ideas stage now, working at Cambridge Festival. Now, the ideas stage is an important part of our model. And if we go up to the top here, we have the model of what we do. So we have our productions. So we work with our writers to produce our productions. Okay, that's really, really important. We have a festival every year, which celebrates new writing. And we invite lots of different companies to our work, to our festival, and we create lots of work. We also do a product called corporate training, which is where we use artists, actors, directors, and writers to work with businesses, education. We work with health authorities to be able to use the skills and creativity of artists to be able to help them in their development. The reason for that is to have independent income stream. We have the skills and we share those skills. You might have some questions about that. The thing I wanted to talk about, though, was ideas stage. And the ideas stage is something, because we're in Cambridge, which is a big university town, we started to be asked by a lot of academics about the work that we do as artists. And we started to develop some ideas of how to get complex academic ideas onto the stage to explain, to bring them to life. And we've done plays about people from Cambridge, like Isaac Newton and Charles Darwin. We brought their work to life on stage. We've also looked at theories and ideas around austerity, around some areas of science. And what we've done is, austerity being around economics, and around what we've done is we've worked with an expert, and then we've teamed them up with a playwright, and then we've produced work which is purely about ideas that come out of universities. So the core of what we do is new writing productions, but we also celebrate new writing in different ways. Okay. So each year we run this festival called Hotbed, and it is the Cambridge New Writing Theatre Festival, and we invite lots of different companies, as I say, guests, and we have all of our work come up. Now, each year we have a different kind of theme or different idea. So building on the idea I just told you about, the ideas stage, most recently we had a program called What's Up Doc, and this is a photograph from one of the performances that we created. And what we did was we invited 9 world experts in their field from anywhere in the world. We put out an open call. If you were a world leading expert in any subject, whether you're in science or in sports or in entertainment, wherever you were, academia, if you had an idea that you were working on, could you team up with a playwright to bring that idea to life in a short play? And this is a play about with a world leading expert on sleep the importance of sleep. He's from University of Toronto. He answered our call, and he worked with a playwright, and we generated a 30-minute piece with this actress, Jasmine, about sleep deprivation. This is the beginning of the play before she goes to sleep, and then we see her during her sleep process. And we created work about space flight. We worked with an astronaut who's walked on the moon. We worked with people around to do with all sorts of science, to do with, there's one guy who's researching the idea that we could live forever, and what he's doing in cell research. And again, we teamed up. This is a sort of theme and an idea which is additional to our core work of a playwright coming to us with an idea, or us asking a playwright about what they're interested in. This is a kind of directional flow in terms of we ask people to respond to a question, or to say, would you be interested in sharing your ideas? And this was a super project that got lots and lots of interest in the press. It got lots of audiences, because if you're interested in space, you'll come and see it. If you're interested in new writing, you'll come and see it. If you're interested in meeting an astronaut, you'd come and see it, and so on and so forth. So there's all sorts of reasons why it worked. You can't see that very well on the text. Another project we do at the festival to encourage people to get involved is we do a late night program. We have between about 16 and 18 actors normally at the festival. And we ask those actors to stay late after their performances and join in what we call the one-page play festival. And so we do it two ways. We either do something like this, where we send out to all the writers that we know and open it up a piece of paper like this that has 1, 2, 3, 4 lines on it. Everyone gets the same 4 lines, and then they can add to those lines, and they can add in this number of extra lines. Okay, they can have as many characters as they like, but it must all fit effectively onto one page, and try and make it as complete a play as possible. And we send out a different one each year. So everyone gets the same 4 lines, but everyone writes something completely different. They have up to 16 actors. Late at night, each piece cannot last more than, I think it's 4 or 5 minutes. Each night we do, I think, 8 of them. The festival, Thursday night, a Friday night, a Saturday night, and a Sunday night, from like 10:30 till midnight, whatever it is. And the actors perform these scripts, and it's great fun. Plus we get lots and lots of new writers involved in the festival. So that's been a really great thing. We've been doing the festival since 2001. So we're coming up to our 20th year. Another thing that we started doing a long time before other people did was what was called one-to-one performances. Now, you probably have seen or been involved in a number of one-to-one performances. We started doing these in 2003, where you would commission one actor, one audience member, and one actor going into a particular space, a particular place. This is in the back of the theatre, and having an individual performance. And we had 9 individual performances. You'd go from each performance to the next one. There would be around a theme each year. Unsurprisingly, this year's theme is going to be called COVID Confidential, and you'll have 9 actors in 9 spaces, 9 audience members, and they will each get to hear a COVID confidential story, which lasts, I think each one, again, is 4 or 5 minutes, and they come together like a jigsaw piece. And the spaces that we use are super interesting. This is a laundry room, but we use elevators. We go on top of the lighting grids. We go out in the car park. We go into dressing rooms. We go into the bathrooms. We go into the shower. You invite someone to go in the shower with you, with a costume on. But and so it goes. So these are ways to add sort of extra elements to the work that we do to really spice up the festival and get lots and lots of people involved. Now, that's our own work that we generate. The next thing I want to talk about is international co-productions. So this was a co-production of a play called Silent, which we co-produced. Now, this went on to win the Fringe First Award, and we invited it back from Edinburgh. So this would be with an Irish company. We know them, we've seen their work, they know us. We collaborate with them to add some elements, and you've got to talk about what they might be to their production. They then bring it to our festival. We give them some money. We earn some income. We then toured this show. We became the producers of the show for another 4 weeks, I think, around the UK and then into London. Just be a kind of co-production. I'll do a little bit of the video of this. This is just the promotional video. So again, this would be, just bring the sound down on this. This is a one-man show, but was absolutely one of the best shows that we've ever co-produced. It really is fantastic. This is Pat Kinnervin, and there's no sound on this video because the play is called Silence, and it talks about or goes into the life of a guy who effectively loses his voice and tells his story as he struggles metaphorically to find his voice. So yeah, having done this, we then actually co-produced it at other festivals in different parts of the world. It was easy to tour, and a very, very nice show actually. But that co-production model is really, really important to add to the work we're producing. We bring in other performers and other performances. Okay, so there's enough of that. But I do recommend you have a look at that show because it's a really fantastic piece of theatre. Now, again, here's another one. So this is a good example of something else we did. Just shows.
I just saw Macarena, which is played by Mikola Kulish, and I think it was a great success.
The depth of it was just phenomenal. It's such an emotional piece. It deals with so many really big issues.
Particularly incredible because she is a British person that has captured like some fundamental paradoxes about reality in Eastern Europe.
This play, despite being written in the 1930s, it's very relevant to our time as well.
Okay, so I'll just pause that there. So this is another example of a different kind of production model that we did. So this is where we had an English playwright working on a production by a Ukrainian writer, and then working with one or two people from the Ukraine to develop, co-produce. So you have actors coming from the Ukraine to work in the UK. So rather than actually having a whole production come, you have one or two actors that add something special. So you have Ukrainian actors, 2 Ukrainian actors, 5 British actors, and then you create the work together. And that's a different kind of model, rather than just bringing the production, having given them money. So now let's talk a little bit about the work we're doing in the Czech Republic, Divadlo 616. The type of work that Divadlo 616 does is based in the Czech Republic, based in Prague, although we have worked across, touring across the Czech Republic, is working on new writing. And the model that we did was we started off with British texts, which were unique in terms of never having been produced in the Czech Republic. And they were then translated from English into Czech. And so the premiere productions were then in the Czech Republic. And that has been something that has been really, really successful for us. And we're developing that more and more. Take a look at some of the photos from the productions. We'll see some of the characters right the way across the, oops, not now, not joining on Facebook right now. We'll see Christoph here and Junkie and Jana and other members of the team. So these are Czech-based actors who are working. There's myself and Philip Knuckles. Craig is a British writer who wrote Hard Sell. So this would be a British play that I directed in the UK, and then Philip directed the Czech version in Czech Republic, and so on and so forth. And there we go. Some of the team there in various different productions. I think Claire will be here in a moment as well. Here she is, Claire MacDonald. So she's another British playwright. She wrote a play in the UK, which was then produced in the Czech Republic. That play is also being produced in Russia, and as I say, it's being produced in Norway and Norwegian as well. There's Petra Spolkova, one of the actors in the show, and so on and so forth. And we have other work which we're developing, which will be new writing from the UK, which is then translated into Czech and then reproduced in Czech. And as I say, what we're looking to do is to start to think about a new production working with a Czech writer and an English writer, a UK-based writer, to create a dual language play. So that will be the first time that we've done that. So what you're starting to see now is a different series of models of theatre producing. So you have build a relationship with writers through workshops, through associate models where you nurture writers. They then become part of your company and they stay with you and they share their ideas with you. Okay, they're professionals. Okay, you have writer development workshops for younger writers. They then get put through to the festival, an opportunity to have their work developed in the festival. You then think about international work that you can invite to come to your festival. You then think about international work that you can invest in and co-produce in your festival, and international work where you can have actors or other artists come to your festival and create work for it. Having done that, what we then do is we then take the best of that work and we then either take it back to the original country or we then tour it internationally as a major production. And we'll come on and talk about that a little bit as we go. So this is the good example, I suppose. So Correspondence was produced by my company in the UK, written by Claire MacDonald. I did the original production in the UK, and then Kristina Zantowska in Czech Republic did a translation. And rather than Philip directing, I actually directed this one. It is in Czech, which I don't speak, but I worked with a translator and worked with the actors Petra and Jan, and created a Czech version of the play that had already been created in the UK. So as a finance model, it's very interesting because it means you've paid already with the playwright you've paid the playwright for the script, and now you're just offering the playwright some additional money as you reproduce the play in lots of different countries, and that becomes really, really interesting. As I said, the other production called Hard Sell, I had directed in the UK. It was then translated into Czech and then and actually adapted. So it wasn't just translated; it was adapted into the Czech world. So the script was shifted into a Czech world, and that was directed by Philip. So you get different models of different ways. I just wanted to share this with you, this bit of text. That's a lot of bit of text from Correspondence, only because in all the years that I've been directing, developing and nurturing new writing, this was the best introduction to any script that I'd ever received. It is for Correspondence, and it just kind of sums up the way that we work in collaboration with our writers, because we don't ask our writers just to send us a script and then we produce it. We ask our writers to work with us on developing scripts. So I'll just read a little bit of this. And this is written by the writer once we've been through the process of developing this script, Correspondence. She wrote at the beginning of the text, she said, "Correspondence is a play that demands collaboration. It is a text that plays with the idea of what a text can do to describe, inhabit, and test the limits of theatre as an imaginary space, while remaining essentially a narrative about betrayal, loss, and the crossroads of a relationship. It sits deliberately between fiction and theatre, between short play and short story. It insists on making up the world it inhabits in a way that reflects memory and personal history. It isn't set on a train, but it squeezes itself into the space of travel. It feels as if it might not even need a playing space. It might almost be for radio, but it is the playing space that gives it life. We need to see the actors making it up as they go along, or at least we need to think they are. The text is, in effect, a shooting script. If it demands collaboration, then the conversation that collaboration offers is how to counterpoint it with other effects, how to create a score from a text, how to insert images, not to illustrate this world, but to realize the story and the world from which it grows. Well, you just see, I mean, that's such an extraordinary kind of challenge to the actors, to the director, to bring that piece of theatre to life. And this really sums up, in a way, our philosophy of collaboration, of challenging what theatre can be. I have a little bit of the text, actually. Let me see if I can find it here. I did open it up. So I want to show you the beginning of the. So you heard what I just read then. So the characters are described as man and woman. That's the only thing they're described as. And as you saw in that introduction, you're given a kind of lot of challenges. This is the open. I just read the opening like few lines of this play correspondence. So she says, "Remind me." And he says, "Drink. Just remind me where we are. We're traveling. How? By train. Really? Yes. What kind of train? Where from? An old train, the night train from Vienna, perhaps, or a train from Prague to Belgrade, or even a minor gauge railway in the mountains. Exotic, slightly. Gaslights above your head." Oops. Get to the next one. Gaslights above your head. Luggage racks made of string. A corridor all the way down the train. No corridor, just compartments, corresponding but separate. Why? They have to talk. Who? This man and this woman. Do they want to? What? Talk? Of course they do. That's the point of the setting. And so the play goes that it develops into this conversation, this challenge, this world, as I described. And that is a sort of challenge that we think about in our company. Now, another example of a challenging and interesting piece of work we did is a play called Bloom in Auschwitz. And this actually came to Brno. And it came to the World Theatre Festival in Brno. And if I show you a couple of the, if we go to a couple of the images, those of you who are in Brno right now may even recognize some of the people in the audience. There's a very famous gentleman on the front row. Where is he? There he is. You recognize, some of you will be no doubt recognize this gentleman here, Peter Ossersley. Yeah, so this is another example where you've created a piece of work, and then the piece of work is then tours. Okay, so we developed it for our festival. We took it around the UK, and then we toured it internationally. So it came to Czech Republic as part of that. And here are some elements of some photographs of the production. You can see there. Okay, and that is actually in Brno. It's taken place in the theatre in Brno. And you can see all those. It's a fabulous production. It's a very, very, very clever script based on Leopold Bloom from James Joyce's Ulysses, and takes on. I might have a little bit of the video here. Takes on the story of James Joyce's Ulysses into a. Oh, do you want to go on to the video? Oh, not to worry. Okay, not to worry. Anyway, suffice it to say, it's oh, there you go. There's the video. Suffice to say, it's an interesting production. Again, I've shown you two one person productions. I'll show you a little bit of this.
Mr. Leopold Bloom. What the feck is going on? Two Blooms. One from the future and one from the past. Must find out who I am. I'm an Irishman. I have a city, a nation, a name. Oh, the traveller. The hero of Ulysses. You are from Hungary. You are my son. You are a Jew. Take me back to where my other future begins. Take me home. Come with me to the future. My name is Leopold Birak Liu of Chomade, Hungary.
Okay, we'll stop there. I just realised that I've just shown you two plays that we toured, which were both solo plays with about Irish subjects. But now let's change to another level of co-production. So, and this is even more challenging. This is a much bigger cast and much bigger show. Go back to our associate writing model. One of our top writers, Fraser Grace, nationally renowned playwright, world-renowned playwright, in fact, and he adapted a short story by the Russian writer Andrei Platonov called The River Pochiddan, and then it was rewritten into a play, a world premiere production called Bliss. Now, in our festival in 2017, we did a workshop performance of Bliss. We just let people come into the process. We had some scenes, we read them, we asked the audience's opinion about them. And through the power of the internet, a festival in Russia found out about this idea, and they asked whether we would be interested in co-producing a new production to go to Voronezh in Russia, which is the home of Andrei Platonov, the writer. So what happened was they then co-financed with us. We then produced the work, and we did a world premiere in Russia. So the very, very first performance was in Russia. In fact, there is Fraser, there's the writer sitting there in the audience. What was interesting was that there was a lot of energy around the idea that we were starting to reconnect stories between Russia and Britain. There'd been a lot of challenges politically between Russia and Britain, not just us. There were other artists that were part of culture. And I think you being at the festival, you realize what power culture has in connecting people across the world, across the globe, and stories. So this became a much bigger and more challenging production. So we go to this is the Platonov Festival. So last year we went to Platonov Festival, and you'll see a couple of interesting things here. You can see that the audience here is on both sides. This is one side, you can see it, and there's the other side, so it's in traverse. And unfortunately, lost in translation was that I directed the play, fully expecting it to be in a proscenium arch stage. And when we arrived, we realized the theatre was actually traversed, and it got lost somewhere between producers, which is a terrible, terrible error. And it caused us to have a day and a half without sleep, because I completely redirected the entire show from proscenium arch to traverse. But we did it, and what was super interesting was we took a Russian story to Russia in English by an English playwright, but it was absolutely amazingly well received, and they saw how other people see them. So it was a super, super interesting and challenging experience. Yes, it's just a play based in 1921 Russian Civil War. So again, we as a company didn't ask the playwright to adapt the text from the Platonov play. He had an idea, and then he came to us and said, could you workshop it? And then we co-financed the production. This is the opening of just again to show you a little bit of text. This is the opening half a dozen lines of the play. Nikita is the soldier returning. Luba is his, I suppose, a girl that he knew before the war. He's a returning soldier. And we see him talking to her right at the beginning of the play. It's the first lines of the play. He meets her on the street. And I think it really sums up how the style and feeling of the play. These are the very first lines. He says, "What sort of life do you have, Luba? Have you a place in the new world? A job? I'm a student of medicine. Ah, pity. No doctors needed. Too late for the dead, and the living are healed. Are you? It's good to see you're alive, Luba. Good to see not all the ghosts in the streets are enemies." And then off he goes. And so the play begins, and his struggles, and I think maybe it's a little bit of video, just for a moment. And we see, it's got a little bit of video from the beginning of the play. We see that So this is the co-production video, and shows the beginning of the. Well, it's just an edited version of the beginning of the show. Show a couple of moments of this. Just edited, so just a few edited moments you'll see.
Faster, Luba! Nikita, of course.
You are Luba.
When did you get back, Nikita?
Yesterday. It's good to see you're alive. Luba, good to know not all the ghosts in the street are enemies. One time, I slept. Walking home by the river. My eyes were closed. My mouth must have been snoring, open. I dreamed there was a creature, furry little thing.
So I'll just pause it there, and just take a look at the set for a second. So this was just before we went to Russia, and this is, you can see I designed it for the I designed all my own plays, and I designed it for the proscenium March. This is just rehearsal before we leave. And then suddenly everything, the audience were, you can see how it's been generated. So we had to so what we did, we had to make a massive shift on the angle and open everything up on these walls. Now, what's interesting is because it was a co-production from the beginning, we knew it was going to tour, and we knew it was going to be way, way too expensive to carry too much equipment with us. So we designed it. We took all these lights with us that are on the floor. These play an important part, and obviously all the costumes and props and a few essential items. But essentially, the whole play was designed around these pallets and boxes. And everywhere that we took the show, these were waiting for us because they're universal size. And then we'd work for a day with our carpenter, and we'd just make sure they're fully stabilized here. Then everywhere we went, these pallets were just waiting for us. So it became, and it's actually, I designed it myself. I actually quite like it in terms of set. It does a lot of work. You can see it transforms itself a lot.
House from here? It's almost new.
You can see it does a lot of different things. Just in terms of, you can see this is the second half of the play. And you'll see the whole thing has changed. You see multiple. There you go. So you see the thing working. So that was an example where we managed to reduce costs by having set waiting for us. Okay, there's a few other little photographs from that thing. You can see it's a touring cover. So just to finish up on this. So we do a lot of theatre-based work, of course, and I've explained that. But we also do work where we go into outdoor spaces. This is a co-production we did where we worked on an outdoor space for a festival, part of the festival, and you go in and you actually perform this is obviously like a tent. And we've also done a lot of work in other spaces, site-specific work. So this is in a gallery where you have work that is performed in different ways, in different spaces. We've done a lot of work in all sorts of different spaces, from old power stations to things like galleries. We've done a lot of work also in people's homes, where we did one piece which was based in 6 rooms of someone's house, and there were actors in each room. And you got to see a kind of life story of an entire family. And again, this is something that was collaboratively developed by and with writers, and a lot of external work as well, where you have, interactive stuff with audiences. We're really keen to involve our audiences in storytelling wherever possible. And I suppose the final slide is to say that where I started, that although we're a theatre company and we always think live performance is the best, we have had to do some streaming of work. And this festival this year, because of the restrictions on the audiences, etc., we won't have an international piece coming in for the first time in 20 years or 19 years. We didn't do it last year. And we will have relatively limited audiences. We don't even know if people are going to come to the theatre, never mind the laws. But we're going to be live streaming the theatre, the festival, so look out for that, Hotbed Festival. And then we'll hopefully have audience as well. So I suppose I'll sort of finish up by saying that's our model. It's about different levels of getting writers, encouraging writers to work with us. Things I haven't said are that we have an associate actor model as well. So we have groups of actors, we employ them on a job by job basis. So we don't have a full-time company, but what we do is those actors, we have a group of actors, and you can see on our website, there's like 30 actors that we tend to pick from the ensemble. They tend to be the actors for the festival. They tend to be the actors that go on tour with us. And then we bring in new actors each time we need them. And then we ask them if we like working with them and they like working with us, do they want to be an associate of the company? And we do the same thing with our designers, with our light designers, with our technicians, with our sound designers, etc., etc. So anyone who works with us, if we enjoy working with them, we offer them the opportunity to stay with us and to carry on to work with us. And the idea of the international work is that we do the same thing, building relationships wherever we can around the world. Okay, so I think I'll stop there, Simon, and come back to you and see if you have any questions or anything you'd like to, that people would like to ask.
Thank you, Paul, for the captivating presentation. Before that, I would like to actually ask you to elaborate a bit on the international part of your theatre productions. Since you mentioned that you reduced your budget by using pallets for a scene, I would like to know if it's something that is quite needed in the sense that it saves money. Is international production and cooperation more expensive, or is it financially hard? Or
yeah. Well, there's lots and lots of different models, Simon. So, I mean, that's just one example. I mean, if it's the Berliner Ensemble that's touring, they tour with trucks. If it is the Czech National Theatre, whoever it might be, and lots of other really great theatres that will have, build their set, and they will co-finance, from the beginning, and they'll be able to tour their stuff. And normally, you will tour with the set that you want to have, you design it knowing, and you budget it knowing it's going to tour. And the idea often is that the co-production means that there's co-investment as well. And it may be co-artist involvement. So, where I'm co-producing work with Divadlo 616, it may be that I'm an artist, it may be that we're offering up other artists, or it may be actually just investing money and knowing that the production would then come back to us, back to the UK. The thing about the pallets was slightly different because we knew that we were going to go to Russia. We knew that we could not take a set with us. So actually, I designed it with that in mind. So, there's an old saying about creativity is the less you have, the more creative you become. So I designed something that I knew would be universal, and I actually really like it. I'm going to keep it now for when it's being produced in London in February next year. And we're going to use the same set because it worked really, really well. Because those pallets became the walls, they become the carpenter's table, they became the bed, etc., etc. So the answer to your question is there's all sorts of co-producing models. There are co-producing sort of collaborative kind of trusts and foundations that help you to find partners for co-productions. I particularly like going to festivals because festivals you tend to get better audiences because people come and trust the festival. You tend to get looked after, because people really love you to come there. And although, but the money tends to be not so good because, there's not so much money to go around. So the answer to your question is, when you've done your Encounter festival previously, you get both things, don't you? Some people bring all their sets over from Poland or, you know, from Slovakia. They bring the whole thing in a truck or a minibus and over it comes. Other people are like coming from Israel or Taiwan. They can't bring all their sets. So they either get you to reproduce it or they find a way just to make it very, very simple. So it doesn't need to have a big, heavy set. But people are the most expensive thing. People are the most expensive thing in theatre. They're the most important and they're the most expensive, or one of the most important anyway. And so for us, I suppose the only really sad thing, I suppose, is if I have to go back 10 years to when I could afford to have 20 actors in a company. And you can only afford to travel with that many people when there's a lot of money up front through investment, co-production investment. So unfortunately, that's got small, casts have got smaller and smaller, down to 7 being the maximum that we can tour with at the moment. Because they're all fully paid. Everyone's professional. So if you go with that production, you're going to take 7 actors. You're going to take the director. You're going to take a stage manager. You're going to take a technical manager. You're going to take a producer. And on this occasion, we took the writer. So you've got like 12 people, all fully paid, all traveling for quite a long period of time, plus set, plus costume. And the budget would have been, we just can't afford you guys to come if you're going to spend £40,000 on bringing a set over. So we couldn't do it. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. The first question from Martin Jakubec is, hello, Paul. I'd like to know what was the most challenging project you've worked on so far?
I wonder what the question regards in terms of challenges. There's so many different challenges, aren't there? Because there's challenges right from the beginning of it's a bit, in a way, it's a bit sort of sad to say the budgets have such a important part on what you do, but they are kind of crucial in a way. They shouldn't be, but they are. As a producer, I think, well, the first challenge is to raise money. To be able to produce something. Now, sometimes we work for free, or we just do stuff that we love. But at the end of the day, it's our career. It's the way we live. So the first and most challenging thing has always been around money. And I had a production, a really, really, really fantastic production of a play called Egusi Soup, which is a Nigerian food, Egusi Soup. It was 7 actors. It was a huge hit in London. We took it on national tour. It was amazing. That it was challenging, but the budget killed us because we just couldn't keep control of the budget. It just kept getting more and more expensive, and it absolutely broke my heart at the end of the tour of 6 weeks. The best play, the most popular play we'd ever had, we just couldn't afford to keep it going. So we had to scrap it. We had to stop it. We had to say, that's it. We had to burn the set or whatever it was. Couldn't even afford to store it. So the first and most challenging, that broke my heart, where money prevents you from carrying on. But the usual challenges are, like I said, with that production, where you turn up and suddenly the theatre dynamic is completely changed. We've had, where, it doesn't happen very often. We've had an actor who's died, not on stage, fortunately, but during rehearsal process or during production process, where you have an awful tragedy. I mean, that was we were in an 850 seat theatre in Edinburgh, booked for a month for the Edinburgh Festival, huge show, 17 actors, and one of the actors died. So that is an absolutely unbelievably tragic thing after the second night, which is beyond belief. And then you suddenly are thrown into the most unbelievable challenge you can possibly imagine, where your central character is no longer there. Do you cancel the show? The whole company is in shock? You've got to deal with all of the trauma. You've got to deal with, it wasn't a horrendous death. It's unfortunately the person didn't wake up, but that's the way it goes. But yeah, that was unbelievable. That was truly, I'll never ever forget that day. And we had to postpone the performance on day 3, but then we went back on day 4, having reworked the show and redone it. But again, we had so much money invested in that. If we cancelled it, we would have had to close the company. We would have gone into debt. We would have been, sent to jail probably. So the challenges are around managing the people, managing the scale of things. It's never been a problem for us to get material. That has never been a problem because we created a really good model, a pipeline, as I like to call it, for writers. So the challenges are the normal challenges you have in life, which are unexpected challenges. That's where you have to be a good kind of family, create a family atmosphere where you trust each other, where you support each other. So when we went to Russia and had to completely redo the show, the actors didn't sleep for 2 days. You know, they have to believe in you, you know, you have to believe in each other. They did sleep, but on the seats in the theatre, never left the theatre. When we had that tragedy in Edinburgh, they came together. So it's nurturing a culture of family. That's been one of the biggest challenges we've ever had.
Thank you for the answer. Maybe the other thing that's quite interesting to ask you is you talked about producing your plays, but you also have the role of a director. When it comes to these two roles, they are quite intertwined, and when you do your own projects or productions, do you always partake in both of these roles, or do you do them separately, only one at a time?
Well, the official title is artistic director, and as a company, I direct plays. My colleagues direct plays. You know, in the Czech Republic, we share directing artistic responsibilities. So, and then we have a producer in both companies. We have producers, but I kind of get involved in deal making. So we have a producer. So although I see myself as a producer as well, I work with the producer. So in other words, I'm not the sort of director that just says, right, give me this, give me that. I want this actor, I want that actor. We kind of work together to create the budgets, to create the company, to make sure we've got the resources. So I'm not going to sit down then and check every line of the marketing brochure and everything. The producer can do that, but we work together. And we have regular production and meetings. So a process of developing something, the play that's going to be on in London, Bliss, will start as soon as we get out of the COVID stuff in the summer. We'll start our regular production meetings to make sure that we are completely on top of everything. Full rehearsals will start in January and the show will open in February. But I would have done a lot of, I would have made sure the budgets were correct. I would have made sure the marketing design is correct and that all the technical elements are there and that all the legal and all the contractual elements are there, all the money is there. And then that play is hopefully going to be going to St. Petersburg, Bliss. So again, but that's something that I've developed. So I will be dealing with the international co-production and doing the contracts on that. And then once I've done the negotiations, and I'll hand it over to my producer to make sure everything happens in terms of all the things you need, like visas and insurances and all that kind of thing. So they are very, very different jobs, but they're kind of intertwined as well. But it's a dangerous thing to try and think you can do everything, because there's a reason why producers know best about lots of different things. They're experts and they focus on that. So I never try and do everything. But I do like to, for example, I do like to design my own shows. But I used to do light design as well, but I've handed that over to better lighting designers than me. And I don't do costumes, so I work with costume designers. And so that design element needs to be fully collaborated on. And then the producer will be involved in all of those negotiations and all of those deals.
And was there any theatre production where you just decided to maybe partake on a different role because it interested you, or that you gave up on that artistic director role and decided to do something else?
What, within the production?
Either within the production or really anything, when you talked about light design or something.
Well, no, I mean, Simon, I think that I think it's really important that we focus on the things we're good at and we develop. You're an actor, you want to be an actor, you focus on that. But well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. You were talking to me earlier about your acting exam, so maybe you do, maybe you don't. But the key thing is to know. I mean, I have been on stage. I know what it's like to be an actor, and I think that's really important for. And I know I know it's important that I understand light design, so I have an interest in these things. But I've learned that you need to work with people who are more talented than you in each of those areas. So I need to work with actors that are better actors than I would be, lighting designers are better lighting designers than I would be, and so on and so forth. On the stage design, on the sort of the mise en scène, on that sort of, I do really get heavy. I've always kind of wanted to do that myself. Occasionally, other people do it, but from the other thing, the thing's not quite the question you asked, but I suppose an interesting answer is that transition from just being a theatre director to doing some of the corporate work and some of the corporate training stuff. That is a very different kind of ask, because that makes you into a workshop leader. We made a decision that, in order to survive, we need to have additional income streams. So we worked with some people from different universities to develop business schools to develop a program. And then we delivered a program around creativity and what you could learn from actors about communication skills. So that meant coming out of that theatre world into a very different world, out of theatre training and out of theatre practice into a corporate world. That took a very, very, very different skill set. And for the actors, it was a very different skill set as well. So I think the thing is to focus on what you're really good at, or what you think you're really good at. And to do, we all end up doing lots of different things, but as your company evolves and you gain more professional kind of credibility, then it's really important that you do work with people who are experts in their fields, really, particularly on the technical and design side, I think.
Yes, thank you very much for the answer. Maybe another question was who initiated the first contact between Theatre 616 and, was it the Czech part of the project, or was it? Okay.
Yeah, the story is very simple. It's the Setkani encounter story. It's a very simple story that I guess 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, myself, Christina Zantowska and Philip Knuckles were on the jury of the Setkani. And what happens when you go away on these sort of festivals or jobs and you meet people that you really like, and you have a beer and you say, oh, we'll work together one day, and you never do. You just go off and you go back. We stuck with it. Between the three of us, we were all determined that there was something really special that we could do. So we made a promise to ourselves that we would actually set up a company. So that is a direct product of Encounter from your festival, people meeting there, and then that company entirely is based on meeting in Brno. And then from there we built the company, and we've done the shows they've been rehearsed. The Philip has rehearsed and brought them to the UK. We've done shows in the UK and brought to Czech Republic, and we've done the translation work as well. And now we're going to commission our first dual language piece. So it all came directly out of networking, which is the most important kind of dynamic of how you meet people. I mean, how you get work in the theatre is through your network. It's through watching lots of theatre, getting to know people. You don't see very many. I mean, you might need an agent or something like that, possibly in commercial theatre, but most of the work you get is through word of mouth, through network, through being involved, through workshops, through performances. And that's a good example where we met each other and we decided we wanted to work together, and we've done it. And, and there's lots of other projects that have come out of that, and friendships, I mean, Philip was going to be doing this seminar, webinar with me. But he's off in quarantine because of COVID in the theatre in Prague. I'm very, very unfortunately. I don't think he has it himself, but he's been quarantined. So it's been a very, very, very challenging time for everyone. But that is a very, very good memory of 616 being born out of Encounter.
Speaking of great memories, do you have any that you're particularly fond of when it comes to Setkani Encounter and your previous years?
Yeah, I'm not sure which ones I'm allowed to say. Some of them, most of them involve the parties. It's a great party. feel terrible saying this on a video because the parties are absolutely legendary. No, I mean, for me, honestly, I mean, I saw some really fabulous productions. I've saw some really, truly. I mean, I've never done it, but if I did do a top 20 shows I've seen in my life, a couple of them would have been at Sekhani, really, you know. And I don't want to. There's not a particular, you know, pieces necessarily that I'd like to name now, but they've come from all over. And for me, that network opportunity, and I hope that people that aren't able to be with you this year, even if they're not performing, can come back just to be part of the story and to see really great work. And you know, there's so many people that have been students that have come through Sekhani and that have then gone on to you know, to be successful. So I hope that they're watching now or they're involved in some way as well. But for me, it's the overall atmosphere, the challenge for you guys having to create the work yourselves, the students that are studying at YAMU, that then have to go and create the festival, and all the people that come in is amazing. But there's been a few moments of jollity. I also like the final ceremonies. They're always quite good fun. The highlights normally being my hilarious speeches, of course. But apart from that, I can't think of any great moments.
Thank you for the kind words. Roman Jakobshivova sends us a message. It is not a question, but it's a hello, and she says hello to Paul and order. It's supposed to be an inside joke. I'm not sure if you get it or not, but I'm relaying the message. But anyway, we can move on. So another question from Martin Jakobet. Is there? Excuse me?
Was there a special message? I didn't hear it.
Oh, you didn't hear it. She said hello to Paul and order. That's order! Yes, that's okay.
Okay,
I was supposed to say it more aggressively. Okay, yeah, there were two exclamation points. So
order! That's more like it. Yeah. It's a special inside joke, but we'll keep it there. Absolutely. Now that's more, if you'd done it with the right voice, I would have got it. Yeah.
Okay,
order.
Fault on my side. I'm terribly sorry. But there is another question from Martin Jakobets. Is there a question you always wish someone would have asked you, but no one ever did?
Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm in. That's a really great question. It's so hard to think right now. Question that I guess you touched on on a little bit earlier, Simon, which is the question that you'd ask is you know, about acting rather than directing. I know it's a boring answer, you know, and you know, there's lots of other interesting questions that people are, but for me, the question that if I ask myself is why I ended up pursuing directing rather than acting, because I think I was a pretty decent actor, and maybe I wasn't brave enough. And so it's more of a psychological question of what I haven't asked myself more than what people haven't asked me, which is why I wasn't brave enough to pursue acting. And I think I struggled with that, with the you know, with the idea of you know, once you're on stage, really taking on a very, very different character. I was never able to leave myself completely behind. And there's acting teachers right now going, what is he talking about? He's crazy. But I think the question is more to myself, why I was not brave enough to try it more. You know, it's kind of learning how to deep sea dive. You go into the pool and I you know, and you try it and it feels okay. And then you've got to be brave enough to get out into the ocean. You've got to get out into the ocean. You can't stay in the pool. And I tried acting, but I was never brave enough to get out into the ocean. And that I asked myself is the question. Other questions, who knows? You know, if Martin's going to ask me any more questions, I definitely have to have a beer in my hand to answer them.
Have you never played in any of your own productions, or like only not even like a small role or anything?
Yeah, in those, the reason we have those late night events, remember I said those one-page plays? The reason we have those is so that I can be in them, other people can be in them, anyone can be in them. Honestly, it's meant to be a celebration of the company. It's the sort of thing at a festival where you do a little bit of it. Counter, there's so many things going on that it's quite hard to do something universal, but everyone gets together and then you see performances and they just it's kind of improvised. So yes, I do some of those because they're low pressure. The audience, it's 11 o'clock at night, they're having a drink, the things don't always go to plan, and that is great fun. And so we have the core company, but then I will get involved, other people will get involved. Occasionally we've come in and we've had to start a performance and say, look, we don't have, is there a 65-year-old lady in the audience who would like to read a part in this next play because we don't have one in our company? And then a lady put her hand up and goes, I'll do it. And then we'll run on and read the part and suddenly you'll be in a play. So yeah, those events are really, really important. And I've done some readings. Well, a thing I didn't mention is one thing we do is we, as we're nurturing the writers coming through the programs, we give them readings. So there's often early in the morning, maybe 11 o'clock in the morning, there'll be a reading of a play before a 3 o'clock performance. And then we invite audience members in. We don't charge them any money. It's just a reading. I might do one of those. Other people might do one of those. The main actors are getting ready for performances, or other local actors might do it. And then we do a kind of Q&A with the audience, what they thought of the play, what instantly their feeling was, just to build up some kind of dialogue with the audience as well. So we have that film I mentioned at the very beginning. We're filming one of our plays, actually rather than streaming, making it into a film. And that will then be shown at the next festival. And then we will have a Q&A about that film so that we have something live to add to it. The audience will be in the theatre. They'll see the film like they're in the cinema. It will also be streamed at the same time, and then there'll be questions from the playwright and some people are experts in the subject matter. So we're constantly looking at models where we can get people involved, audience involved. And those of you who are interested in audience development, we're just trying to hook people in a different way, not just putting on a play, a big play, lots of interactive events. And I do get involved in them where I can, as do other colleagues.
Actually, when you talked about the open readings that you do, is it something that you do in other countries as well, or only in Great Britain? And if so, do you maybe have some experience of which countries are the most responsive or give the greatest feedbacks, maybe?
The answer is no, but I mean, you do experiment with things. I think it's more actually in a way to do with, I'm not sure it's about audiences as much as it is to do with the company or the actors or the director. How open are they to early stage criticism? How much they want to open up their process? Some directors, actors are very precious. They won't let anybody even into rehearsals. One thing I do, Simon, is I invite my writers in. As you saw when I read that introduction to the play correspondence, is very, very collaborative. So we invite, wherever possible, the writers are with us from the beginning. So that is a very open process. They are, in a way, giving critical feedback to the actors. And we don't invite them into all rehearsals because actors get a little bit defensive when the writer's in the room. But we do invite them in once a week if we're in a 6-week rehearsal process. Maybe more towards the end. Or at the beginning and towards the end, and then we do previews. Sometimes we'll do a maybe with 8 or 9 days to go, we'll have an invited audience. There won't be the public, but there will be people who are known to us, so we just invite maybe 12, 20 people in to come and see something, to see an actual run through, and then to give us feedback if they have any feedback. So the answer is that we don't tend to do the readings, but if you have the resources and the time, then opening something up to a kind of critical preview audience can be very, very valuable. I mean, when we had the production that was going to Russia, where none of us are Russian, So we brought a couple of Russian people in who are UK based to watch the show, not to tell us whether they thought it was a good play or not, but to give us if there are any problems with pronunciation or accent in terms of phraseology and some other feedback. We'd obviously done our research, but it was really nice to have people watch it who were Russian and just say, yeah, that's how you pour the tea out of a kettle in Russia, or whatever it might be. And we've done as much dramaturgical detail as we possibly could, but then to put it in front of a few Russians made it like put the pressure on us a little bit. So, but that's you have to be brave again to open up to an audience before you're ready to open the play for real. But it's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe since you just started talking about Russia again, this is a disclaimer for the viewers. We talked about this some time ago, but did you have any sort of intrusion or problems while producing producing your work there?
No, we didn't. I think that you find that theatre people are pretty generally pretty trustworthy and across the world. I don't know quite the question, but if there was any other influences over how we got there, why we invited money and things, we felt completely confident that we'd be okay. Everyone felt confident that we were in safe hands. What has been more interesting though, Simon, is that on the back of that production, I was a director, was asked to go back and run some workshops in Voronezh. And they asked me if what I would like to workshop. And I thought, well, the most interesting script that I thought I could work on would be Animal Farm. Because for me, it's a British text, but obviously it's about Soviet times. I thought, well, that would be super interesting. And then there was some criticism, not about necessarily more defensive criticism about my views on that particular play and Stalin and others. So that did get a little bit of pressure, but I never ever felt anything untoward. I felt like I feel there's a real brotherhood or sisterhood, whatever you want to call it, in the theatre that sits outside of other areas of politics or anything like that. So whenever we've been to Russia, we've been a few times. I teach also at a theatre school in Moscow, so I go regularly. I have been told, by translators to be careful about what you say, not in terms of, anything political, but just being, careful about how far you push in terms of potentially censored material. So I do have to be careful about that. But that's just been casual advice rather than anyone telling us what we could or could not say. But I guess you have to be careful and sensible. And I think the main thing is work with partners that you trust, and work with people that give you honest feedback and that culturally support you. And there have been issues at Carney, there's been issues at my festival, where if you don't know what someone's going to produce, you could find yourself going, oh my God, what are they doing, kind of thing. And so knowing and sharing information as early as possible is the key.
I think this is all from our questions from the audience and from myself. So I would like to thank everyone for watching our stream, and especially big thanks to you, Paul, for agreeing to this and for giving us this amazing presentation and for answering these questions. Is there something that you would maybe like to say to the audience?
No, just the obvious, I suppose, which is I wish you guys the best of luck with the rest of the festival. It really, truly is, one of the highlights of the year, Sekani. And I really hope that next year we'll be back on its feet and that I'll be there to celebrate with you guys. And I just think for those of you who are participating, I hope that you're able to find some way to connect with as many people as you possibly can, because that and everything I've talked about today, this evening. It's always about, it's been really, truly, if you think about what I've been talking about, it's about how you build connections, how you build network, and how you build trust in yourself and artists that you can work with, and the bridges that you can build. And for Setkani is a bridge building festival. So I wish you guys luck for the rest of it, and I hope to see you next year.
We hope to see you next year as well. With this, I would like to say goodbye to our dear viewers and this lecture. So thank you, and goodbye.
Thank you.